Let me take you to the war in Gaza now, where millions are confronting the threat of famine and access to aid is increasingly limited. A new group backed by the US and Israel has been tasked with distributing aid, but Gazans say they're being ambushed on their way to get food. Israel is blaming Hamas and says its plan to arm a local militia is key to eliminating them.
In just 1 week, Yasser Abu Shabab became Gaza's most talked about man. He heads now an armed group calling itself the Popular Forces, and they are playing a key role in distributing aid through the Israeli-backed and highly controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, also known as GHF. According to Israeli media reports, Abu Shabab's group was armed by the Israeli security agency Shin Bet in a covert operation. The Israeli goal is to weaken Hamas by controlling food supplies and by empowering local Gaza militias, such as this.
Today, members of the Yasser Abu Shabab's group set up an ambush for us. We went out towards the sea and they made all the people line up behind each other.
From last week, on the immense chaos around aid distribution centers that has led to dozens of Palestinians being shot and killed, the basic right for access for food has become another battlefield with civilians in the crossfire. And while investigations of the shootings are still underway, the Israeli military is quick to point fingers at Hamas.
Those distribution centers. So what they can do? The first days they were trying to launch attacks on these distribution centers. They still do. Second thing is they are trying to prevent their own people from getting into these distribution centers. And how they do that? First, they are shooting at them. Second, they are spreading fake news.
On Thursday morning, the GHF reported 5 of its Palestinian employees were killed and several others injured by Hamas. It also said more were kidnapped by the group. But the Popular Forces of Abu Shabab are just one of several well-equipped factions across Gaza. Analysts say weapons are still plentiful, and that raises some tough questions. If Israel's plan works, it could push Hamas out of power. If it doesn't, it may unleash a new wave of violence, fragmentation, and deeper suffering for millions already trapped in an unbelievable crisis.
Michael Milshtein is head of the Palestinian Studies Forum at Tel Aviv University and a former advisor to Israel's military government in the Palestinian territories. He joins us from Kiryat Ono in Israel. Welcome to DW. As we just heard in the report, if the Israeli plan to arm and support Yasser Abu Shabab and his group works, then Hamas gets pushed out of power. But if it doesn't, we may see a new wave of violence. Has that violence already begun?
Well, actually, yes, because when we check carefully this plan or this thesis, to promote or to protect all kinds of militias and clans and gangs inside Gaza, till now, it's not a very successful idea. And right now, of course, this idea brings at least the southern parts of Gaza to chaos and to more violence. And unfortunately, it seems that actually Israel repeats several mistakes from its past, the old past and the more close past, about promoting or supporting all kinds of suspicious players, militias, even without taking care about or without paying attention about their nature, usually a very violent nature. And I'm really concerned about it because it may bring us not only to more chaos in Gaza, but also to actually a very problematic image, a negative one of Israel in the eyes of the Palestinians as a state which is getting too much involved in internal affairs of the Palestinians.
OK, but it's hard to see. You talk about sort of chaos being at the end of this path. It is hard to see how much more chaotic things in Gaza can get.
Well, actually, if you will imagine, if you will promote our imagination, I think that we can really think about more chaotic situation in Gaza. I mean, almost, it's a kind of Somalian style chaos. Right now, in a very cautious manner, I can say that, of course, there are problems and there is a chaos in several places in Gaza, but Hamas is still the prominent player in the most of the areas in Gaza. But if, for example, Israel will create all kinds of enclaves and all kinds of bubbles ruled by clans and gangs, I'm quite sure that it is going to create a kind of really chaotic territory full of clans, tribes, gangs. And I'm quite sure that, when we are comparing a Somalian style situation to the current one, I'm not sure at all that the future scenario will be better than the current situation. And I'm really concerned that if we will insist, Israel will insist this policy of creating more and more chieftaincies in Gaza, it can really bring us to almost total chaotic situation in Gaza.
And when you talk about the situation in Gaza being better from an Israeli perspective, by that do you mean a situation where Israel feels that it is safe, it is more secure, whereas the situation that appears to be being created, that of a fragmented territory ruled by lots of different clans, that will be more dangerous to Israel than what currently pertains?
I actually think that let's call it the gap between the current situation. We face Hamas as the dominant player in Gaza. And by the way, it's not the same Hamas. And this organization doesn't have the same power as it had 20 months ago. And the kind of 100 gangs and clans and militias ruling Gaza without no one address, I'm not sure at all that this situation will be better for Israel from the security point of view than the current one. And I think that, we in Israel should be frank enough to admit that right now we have a very few and a very bad alternatives standing in front of us. And actually, we have to choose between two bad alternatives. First, is to really promote a full occupation, full control over Gaza. But our leadership should explain to the people, to us, what is the meaning and what is the price of such a scenario. From the security, the economic, the military, and the political point of view. I'm quite sure that right now, we in Israel, the citizens, don't really get an explanation which is serious enough. And the other option, the other alternative, and I'm trying not to be naive, is actually to promote a deal. And this deal means, of course, the release of most of the hostages, but also it will demand Israel to announce about the end of the war and even to withdraw from Gaza. And we will not, once again, be naive and describe this alternative as utopic one. Hamas will still be the prominent player in Gaza, but it won't be the same powerful Hamas. Right. And I think that between these two bad alternatives, Israel should choose the least worst alternative, and this is the deal. And unfortunately, all the rest of the ideas and all kinds of opinions which are being elaborated in the Israeli discourse, for example, Trump's vision or chieftaincies of clans, they are more fantasies than realistic plans.
OK, but still peering into a very dark future for Gaza. Thank you for guiding us through that, Michael Milshtein from Tel Aviv University. Thank you so much.
Thank you.